The Office may be one of the best mockumentaries of all time, but its iconic slow-burn romance pales in comparison to its successors. John Krasinski's Jim Halpert and Jenna Fisher's Pam Beesly were the most important characters when The Office began, as their clear romantic tension was the crux of the first season. Jim and Pam's relationship in The Office was inevitable from the start. Yet, as wildly beloved as The Office was during its prime, Jim and Pam's relationship developed divisive conflicts, which put a strain on the sitcom's foundation. By the finale, of course, they get a hasty happy ending. Most workplace sitcoms include similar office romances, but plenty of newer couples learned from Jim and Pam's mistakes, making for stronger overall relationships. 8. Amy and Jonah Superstore movie stills DB. Superstore's main couple followed the same main trope as Jim and Pam: right person, wrong time. Nevertheless, Superstore gave its slow burn even more obstacles. Though it was clear Jonah, Ben Feldman, fell in love with Amy, America Ferreira, at first sight, Amy was in a loveless marriage and had a young daughter, meaning Jonah couldn't freely act on his feelings. After Amy decides to get a divorce, she and Jonah share a kiss, but they don't start dating for another season, just like Jim and Pam. What sets Amy and Jonah's relationship in Superstore apart from The Office, however, is that Jonah truly respected Amy's marriage. Despite his attraction, he was content to simply be her friend and trusted colleague. In the end, Jonah's patience is rewarded with a wholesome series finale scene that shows the pair married with children. In a parallel to the pilot episode, there are glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling, which Jonah first put up in the store to give Amy a moment of beauty to enjoy. Jonah's romantic gestures remain swoon-worthy to this day. 7. Chloe and Lucifer. Despite its novel concept of the devil becoming a police consultant, Lucifer has a standard slow burn recipe. The titular Lucifer Morningstar, Tom Ellis, is instantly drawn to Detective Chloe Decker, Lauren German, who is already in a relationship. That relationship, however, is a failing marriage with another Los Angeles Police Department co-worker, adding an interesting wrinkle to the classic plot. Plus, there were downright mythical roadblocks for them to navigate before Lucifer and Chloe could pursue a relationship. Lucifer's unique twist on biblical figures created memorable characters like Mazikeen, Leslie Ann Brandt, and Amenadiel, D.B. Woodside, but the forces of heaven and hell literally tried, and failed, to keep Lucifer and Chloe apart, though they experienced plenty of shortcomings. In a morbidly sweet ending, Chloe dies of old age in the series finale, meets her deceased father in heaven, and voluntarily chooses to go to hell instead to be reunited with Lucifer. It's an unconventional happy ever after for an equally original couple, but their love was strong enough to survive angels, demons, and cops trying to interfere. 6. Bobby and Athena 9-1-1. 911 began as a simple first responder drama, but love quickly bloomed between Police Sergeant Athena Grant, Angela Bassett, and Fire Captain Bobby Nash, Peter Krause. Their on-call chemistry was palpable, and they ended the first season by going on a date. From there, their relationship quickly progressed, with the pair eloping in the 911 Season 2 finale. Sadly, like many of the greatest love stories, Bobby and Athena's relationship in 911 ended in tragedy. Bobby sacrificed himself in 911 Season 8, marking the ABC drama's first main character death since its 2018 premiere. Athena's grief is already an underlying current of Season 9, but her character's future cannot be removed from her past. Bobby will live on in Athena, but the procedural will likely experiment with new love interests eventually. Unfortunately for 911, there's nobody Athena could fall in love with that could be a worthy replacement for the fallen fire captain of LAFD Station 118. 5. Jake and Amy Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Unlike Jim and Pam, Jake, Andy Samberg, and Amy, Melissa Fumero, started Brooklyn Nine-Nine as workplace frenemies. They often clashed on procedure, but their office banter was fueled by obvious romantic tension. They took turns pining after each other before Brooklyn Nine-Nine finally let Jake and Amy get together, but their relationship wasn't without trials and tribulations. Most Brooklyn Nine-Nine episodes focused on Jake and Amy, including their heartwarming relationship milestones, but the couple was always a reflection of the overarching plot. When the team was under duress, their relationship was also tested. Conversely, their highs typically coincided with precinct-wide wins. Regardless, Jake and Amy were the perfect opposites-attract workplace romance that never caved under pressure. For Turk and Carla Scrubs. Throughout the 9 seasons of Scrubs, Turk, Donald Faison, and Carla's, Judy Reyes, relationship was a cornerstone of the sitcom. The nurse and future chief of surgery begin dating in the first episode of Scrubs, and they end the series married with 2 children. The road to Carla and Turk's happily ever after was far from painless, however. Turk's best friend, JD, Zach Braff, enabled his worst traits, often forcing Carla into a maternal role. Their immature hijinks were the basis of the show's comedy, however, meaning Turk could never fully mature. Despite it all, however, Turk proved his love for Carla when it mattered most, even learning Spanish for her. Turk and Carla weren't a perfect couple by any means, but they surpassed realistic conflicts to make their relationship stronger. That makes them more true to life and, in some ways, easier to root for. 3. Sean and Juliet Psych. The best modern Sherlock Holmes adaptation, Psych followed Sean Spencer, James Rodri Rodriguez, and Burton Guster Dula Hill as they helped the Santa Barbara Police Department solve crimes. Along the way, however, Sean falls in love with Detective Juliet O'Hara, Maggie Lawson, creating one of the most underrated love stories in modern television. Juliet and Sean balanced each other out, and, even when the truth of Sean's fake psychic powers broke them up, it was only a temporary setback. The multiple film sequels only bolstered their long-standing romance, with the couple finally marrying in Psych, the movie. Sean and Juliet struck the perfect balance of build-up and payoff, making them an iconic slow burn. 2. Janine and Gregory Abbott Elementary. Image, ABC via Moviestills DB. Since its 2021 premiere, Abbott Elementary has been credited with resurrecting the mockumentary genre. As a result, the ABC comedy is constantly compared to The Office, including its central couple. The DNA of Gregory, Tyler James Williams, and Janine, Quinta Brunson, can clearly be traced back to Jim and Pam, but Abbott Elementary, as always, improves on the classic formula. Gregory and Janine's love story in Abbott Elementary started in the pilot, but the two were always in other relationships until they finally acted on their feelings in the season 3 finale. Since getting together, Gregory and Janine have had realistic fights without resorting to a cliché breakup, making Abbott Elementary's obvious endgame romance a refreshing change of pace. 1. Leslie and Ben Parks and Rec. Moviestills DB. The best workplace romances don't necessarily need a drawn-out game of push and pull. Leslie Knope, Amy Poehler, spent the first season of Parks and Recreation longing for another character entirely.